We're going to spend the next 15-20 minutes or so chatting about the game, how it happened, the positives, the negatives. This is the place where you can have your say on YouTube, in the Twitter, all that good stuff as well. I'm not sure how many of the Super Chats Paul got through. I've got a few on the screen here. I was going to address a couple of them just in case. I'd like to be safe. Pavan says, the calmest 1-0 win I have had in a very long time. I'm glad you were calm, my mate, because I'm going to be honest, I wasn't as calm. And this one's caught my eye. This one probably did get addressed during the main watch-along stream, but I like this from Ellis. Yaros, I mean, there's a talking point right there, isn't it? Did brilliantly when he come on. You never quite know how you're going to react in that environment. Obviously, thrown into the Lions' den a little bit of a baptism of fire for him on the bench today in place of Kevin Keller, who, as we know, is ill. And then Alisson pulls his hamstring, seemingly a repeat of the injury he had recently that kept him out for a few games. And Jaros, who, you know, off the back of a good season over in Austria at Sturm Graz, won the league, actually won the Austrian Bundesliga with them, comes on away at Selhurst Park, bit of a bear pit at times down there. It can get quite hostile. And the game had just descended into a little bit of chaos. Palace had run the up. The fans were starting to get a bit loud, a bit raucous. It was getting a bit dodgy from Liverpool perspective. Just 1-0, of course, so on a knife edge, and equipped himself brilliantly, I thought, honestly. He doesn't have to do loads of stuff, but everything he did have to do, did it brilliantly. So, yeah, credit to Vítězslav Jaros. And, as Ellis rightly says, we have the three best goalkeepers, first, second and third choices in the world, which is nice. So I'll dive into the normal YouTube chat now. I just wanted to address those beforehand. Sound, let's talk about it. I'm going to try and get this and the next show done as close to 3 o'clock as possible so we can all get on with our weekends, because our weekends now look glorious. Everything that lies ahead feels like good fun from here and now. The results may not all go our way, but we've won. My mental, however, says he's still shaking. I was more with you. I wasn't quite as calm as the person in the chat a minute ago. I'll be dead honest. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, we've spent a lot of time speaking about the control. Let's just read this actually from Mr. J Mango, because it looks like it's kind of what I'm about to say. I understand physically getting slow, but getting worse at finishing as you get older. Oh, you talk about Salah. It's not what I was going to say at all. What the hell is going on with Salah? Don't get me started on Jota. Kind of is a little bit what I was going to touch upon, to be honest. Mainly, Liverpool this season, we've become more sort of economical with how we play football. We're not quite as frantic, as hell for leather, as heavy metal, to use, obviously, Jurgen Klopp's coined expression for it. And that's great, and I'm all for that, because I think long run it will help us out. But we're not exactly putting teams to the sword or killing games off in the manner that we should be. You can afford to be, you know, calm and composed. And we weren't even much of that today. Palace sort of dragged us into a bit of a scrap. And for large parts of our second half, we weren't necessarily winning that scrap. We were a bit wasteful of our chances. You mentioned Jota a moment ago there. Like, he was obviously took his goal brilliantly. The movement and the awareness to get in front of his man, and the finish is exquisite. The football actually for that goal, Tsimikas with a lovely little inside ball from that sort of inverted, narrow position. Cody Gakpo, brilliant assist as well. So we played some good stuff, and we played some good stuff in the round the box quite a lot today. But there's a couple, and it's Jota twice, and it's the Salah one, which you're probably referencing as well. Brilliant ball from Van Dijk, and Salah gets his finish all wrong, and Jota could have had a hat-trick. And the thing is, they're usually sort of like food and drink to Jota, those sort of chances. And he's missed 2 of them. And when you don't take those chances, you end up giving a home side, and a side like Palace, who, you know, the league position probably doesn't represent what they are as a football side right now in terms of the quality they possess. So you give them a bit of hope, you give the fans a bit of hope, and that's a dangerous mix. And Liverpool nearly come a cropper because of it today. So, yeah, when we come back off international duty, as much as we sort of praise the quality we've got up front, and rightfully so, we need to start showing it and flexing our muscles a little bit more, because keeping teams like Palace in games like that will hurt us in the long run. Anyway, Kevin Tuck says, I think we're missing the Jimenez type player slot used the final. Possibly. Yeah, possibly. There's definitely, it's interesting how he referenced the lack of goals from centre forwards, whether it be Jota or Nunes so far. And then Jota obviously answers a little bit of that back today with a goal. But yeah, maybe there is something we haven't got up front that Arne Slot wants. I'm not sure either Jota nor Nunes are perfect for him. I'm not entirely sure Jimenez is either in terms of his level. I think maybe the style might be the right one, but I don't think the level's quite there from him. So it'd be interesting sort of over the next probably 12 to 18 months if we go into the market for a centre forward. The only thing I would say is that one of them, Jota or Nunes, would probably have to make way for that to be the case, because owning 3 out-and-out centre forwards, which they pretty much exclusively are, those two, they can play a little bit on either wing, certainly the left, would feel a bit overkill, I would say. Okay, we overdid it in the final third. So there's definitely a couple of moments of that. There's once or twice I was screaming at the telly. I think Szoboszlai had one. There was one when McAllister shifted it further pass on as well, which Tsimikas hit. Tsimikas actually hit it well, but it felt like we were sort of looking for that perfect goal, which we did score. But there's a couple of moments whereby you think, just pull the trigger, have a go, because you never know. Maybe overplaying it a little bit. Elliott a big miss with his end product. Yeah, possibly. Elliott a big miss, full stop, to be fair. I shaved yesterday. Thanks for the info. Good first half, horrid second. J-Vog says, Jota has had these stretches in the past. In a few weeks, he'll bag 5 goals in 3 matches. And everyone in the chat will say he's world class. The thing is, I guess, with Jota, is he makes his living on scoring goals, which sounds so simplistic. But the biggest asset, his forte, if you like, is his goal scoring numbers and his clinical nature in front of goal, which again he showed in the first instance today. So when he then misses 2 chances, which are, I'm reticent to say they were gilt-edged, but they were big chances for a player of his finishing ability. When he misses 2, I think we're right to sort of pull him up on it a little bit, because if it was Darwin, we definitely would be. But also, Jota's all-round game is good, and I thought he was quite good today at dropping deep and interlinking the front 3, but he's not. That's not what he does. That's not his thing. He's not Bobby Firmino in that sort of way. So he does need to score goals. And in a game like today that is a little bit tetchy and a bit tight, you want him to be putting other chances away, is kind of where I'm at with it. 90 says, go and get Harry Kane. Okay. Nicholas Haycraft says, it's a bit repetitive, but Gravy's man, I thought he was excellent once again. He is perhaps the most press-resistant footballer I've ever seen in my life. The way he understands what's going on around him and just turns out of trouble is just a joy to watch. Like, he is elegance personified when he does that. He's a couple of moments there, he's a bit sloppy. He gives one away, which requires thereafter a big Alisson save. Alisson actually made 2 or 3 saves before he's forced off, and we'll spend some time talking about the injury situation in a few minutes probably, which is... I've seen somebody a second ago said he's probably going to miss international break, which is a blessing. Yes, my worry is how much longer after that it will be, because let's be honest, he looked livid. Now, how much he knows about how severe that injury is, obviously will remain to be seen. But yeah, hopefully it is just an international break thing and he can come after, because he only missed a few games recently with a hamstring pull strain, and now he's gone down holding his right hamstring again. Yeah. No, I'm not overly optimistic, to be honest with you. 3 points on we go, absolutely that. Van Man Roland says 24 wins to go, lads. Title incoming. Yeah, straightforward when you put it like that. Louis G, Super Chat, thank you very much, says 9 wins out of 10, top of the league, will get better. Yeah, and I guess Gyökeres, a lot of people talk about Gyökeres in the chat. I like Gyökeres a lot. I wonder whether, I said this recently on a different show, I think he's 26 now, and that's obviously not old. I'm aware of that. We pursued Zubimendi for the entire summer, and he's 26 as well. But I do think if he was 23, 24, I definitely think he would be the answer. But I'm not entirely sure at that age. Certainly not when he's talking like upwards of 60, 70 million that Sporting would require. But I think he's a hell of a player, and I think stylistically he probably is in and around what we're looking to do. But yeah, on the point about we will get better, absolutely will get better. And tougher tests will be to come, but Liverpool will improve and will learn how to navigate these games. And again, that today for me was a test of the character of this squad. Like, I think Wolves was that a little bit, and this was another hurdle in a similar sort of mould today. And we found a way of getting the 3 points. And how often do we sit here and sort of claim or say the way to win league titles is finding a way when you're not at your best? And Liverpool have done that twice on the bounce for my money in the Premier League now. So that speaks to a squad and a side that A, has got bags and bags of quality, but B, has got loads and loads of the right character and the right mentality that you'd want from a football team. So yeah, all bodes well. Red says Kelleher is brilliant. I honestly have no worries. Yeah, no, Keller's brilliant, but he's not Alisson Becker. Is he? Alisson Becker's the best goalkeeper in the world. So yeah, it's all it's, and the fixture schedule, not to sort of again do down and Kevin Keller on any way, shape or form, because he's been phenomenal every time he's been called upon for us. is crazy after this. So he's going to be playing a lot, which isn't a huge concern for a keeper. But the calibre of teams we're coming up against is going to go up a level or two as well. So he's going to be busy, and we're going to need him at his very, very best. Now, Alisson at his very, very best is sensational. And he was today. We actually needed him too much. They are the slots on telly right now while I'm speaking. And I can imagine Peter Crouch, Joe Cole have said, and Lindsay Hipgrave have said, oh, that was good, wasn't it? Wasn't that nice? 3 more points, clean sheet, etc. And he's not that happy because he's just not that way inclined. He is a perfectionist. I've said it a few times already. He's laughing, but I'm sure deep down he's fuming. The fact that people are talking about Virgil van Dijk was man the match, extolling the virtues of Ibrahim Konate, and Alisson Becker had to make 3 or 4 big save stroke interventions, he won't be pleased. Left back has become a problem as well, says Kevin. Yeah, maybe. I thought Tsimikas did well today, I must admit. Interesting the change for him and Robertson, but I thought he did well. Dickie says, understanding combined centre-back, left-back is an option. Yeah, I thought we might have addressed that, to be honest with you, this summer, but we didn't. And it remains to be seen whether Arne Slot follows suit with that, because obviously Arsenal and Man City have gone down that road, but I don't know. I assume Liverpool would, but we haven't yet. Jota missed 2 easy goals. Yeah, he missed 2 big chances. Absolutely. I've just seen Van Dijk said the Alisson injury doesn't look good. So, Mikey, yeah, you know what? I was thinking this a minute ago, actually, while I was talking about the keeper situation. I assume Jaros will become Kelleher's understudy and therefore will play in the cup games and stuff like that. Obviously, it's Brighton in the next round of the League Cup. Hopefully, by the time the FA Cup rolls around, Alisson's well back. But yeah, I think Jaros will play the cup games, to be honest with you, and Kelleher will just become the first choice keeper for the Premier League and Champions League. Mr. J Mango is back. Hi, mate. At this point, we might as well try Quanta at left back, have him invert when Trent push up the pitch. Wild card, but Tsimikas terrifies me. Yeah, people are often concerned about Tsimikas, and he started the game, obviously we conceded in the first minute, disallowed goal. He did start the game a little bit worryingly, but I thought he grew into it, and I thought he was much better after, actually, and defended once or twice pretty well, to be honest. Well done, the fucking Redmen, says Dally Paul's my sort of comment. Sit back and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Heal up Alisson. We don't know what's wrong with McAllister yet. I don't know if Arne Slot address this. If he does say anything about him, please let me know in the chat. But Alisson looks like a long-term one to me, a good few weeks. This is a good shout as well. And the inverted thing that you've just mentioned would work with Joe Gomez, and it is more a Gomez thing than a Quanta thing. People assumed Quanta could do the left-back stuff. I've never seen it, not even in youth level, so I'm not as convinced by that. But we'll see. Baldwin, Tsimikas is split. We're going to do the player ranking soon, so we'll have time to speak about Tsimikas and all that sort of good stuff. Damien says, Gomez for left-back, he's been such a great player for us. Yeah, maybe. I just think Robertson will remain the first choice left back for the foreseeable future. I don't see that changing. What would you say the best game we played so far this season? Man U or West Ham? Probably Manchester United, I would say. I know they're terrible, but to go to Old Trafford, a place where it doesn't really matter where the two teams are at in recent history, it's tended to be tricky for us. Obviously, notwithstanding the 5-0 rout there a few years back, but it's never a comfortable fixture, I don't think, necessarily. So to go there and dismantle them in the way that we did is probably the performance of the season for me so far, I would say. I speak about McAllister a second ago. As far as I was aware, there's no injury concern, maybe just the need of a rest and rotation. Obviously, Szoboszlai was more than ready for 45 minutes. And the yellow card, I think, just before half-time might have played into him coming off, but hopefully that's the case. If there is any injury concern around Alexis McAllister, he cannot go on international duty for me. Obviously, Alisson Becker won't be, that's almost certain. Hopefully the same applies to Alexis McAllister. D says the Milan game was the pick of the bunch so far, especially Gravenberg's been exceptional once again. He's just dictating games of football from that deep role. We survived a lot of scary moments today. One of them was sort of Gravenberg's doing. I'm watching the one now. It's a 3-on-1 basically. Thankfully, Eze gets to finish all wrong, and Jaros' handling is pretty good. Yeah, McAllister had a nice peck on his thigh. Okay, I didn't spot that, I must admit. Well spotted. Hopefully that's just precautionary more than anything else. And that can be, I imagine there'll be a lot of ice packs on a lot of body parts after any game or when anyone's game is done. So fingers crossed there's not much to that. I'll dive into Twitter in a moment, but last couple of comments on YouTube now before I do. It's exactly this, to be honest with you. Jota missed 2 chances, but the first one is what many players, sorry, I've just covered it, would take a touch and give a short pass in the box, like overplaying. Yeah, we definitely overplayed a lot today. Many wouldn't call it a big chance. No, that first goal and the movement that Jota shows for it is right at the top drawer for me. That's what sets him apart. I really like Darwin Núñez, as some of you may come to realise. I think there's a hell of a footballer there. He's probably on sort of last chance saloon in terms of this season for me, kind of make or break for him, I would say. It's got to work. Otherwise, there's a serious conversation next summer. But I think when it comes to Jota and Núñez, it's that sensing of an opportunity and that sniffing out of a chance that Jota does like nobody else. Probably the best in the squad at it, to be honest with you. And 99 times out of 100, once he's realised there is a chance, he puts it in the back of the net. Unfortunately, for all of our health and heart rates today, he only managed to do it once, when in reality, he probably should have walked away with at least 2, potentially 3 goals, I would say. Rory says, I hope I said your name right, by the way. I assume it's an Irish way of spelling it. Forgive me if I was wrong, first off. Important to get the win today, especially with the fixtures coming up. Great start, but we'll see where we are after the next month. Disappointed about Alisson, but full confidence in Kelleher. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully the prognosis isn't too bad on Alisson Becker. But yeah, 4 points clear, top of the league, job done. And as somebody said before, we can sit back and watch the rest of the football unfold at our leisure. The win is important. The performance can be analysed and fixed in training. Yeah, and I think that's right, to be honest with you. I think we always dissect football matches. That's literally what we do for a living here. So even though we did win and we are clear at the top of the Premier League and all is well, like we literally have sort of an obligation to sit and say, well, this wasn't right, that wasn't right, this was really good. So both sides of the story, if you like, which is exactly what Arne Slot will be doing. Nobody can convince me, and this is where Slot is a bit of an outlier, it feels like, because he says it in public as well. Like, it was far from perfect that today, and he'll be acutely aware of that, more aware of that than any of us would be, and he'll be in there. If he's not reading the riot act to them now, he'll be saving it for, he won't see them on Monday because of internationals probably, so there's a good chance he's telling them how it is now. He'll almost group the entirety of this set of fixtures in together, I imagine, on a slot, and he'll sort of dissect a lot of what was good and what was bad about it. He'll want to finish on a high, to send off his players on a high and say, listen, ultimately, forget about all the bad bits, we'll deal with them in due course, but we are top of the league, things are good, etc., etc. I'm just seeing this comment at the corner of my eye before going to Twitter. Slot was a lot more passionate. I noticed that. He even had that moment when he ran at the 4th official, channeling his inner former Liverpool manager, whose name I shall not use. But yeah, I noticed he was a bit more animated today on the touchline. And it might have been because of this, to be honest. Because, yeah, he was awful. Awful again. Got a bit card happy, didn't he, at one point as well? And some of them were just laughable. Ryan Gravenberch is coming into his own. Thought he had another great game, and the way he turned and drives forward was unbelievable for the number 6. And I think that's because, and a lot of people may disagree with me on this, I think that's because he's not a 6 in a normal way that a 6 is a 6. He's so much more than that. He can do everything. Like, I agree with you, he's playing with real authority, he's playing with real sort of solidity, all the things you'd want from that deepest line midfielder. But his natural game, his more suited attributes, if you like, are the things you just referenced there. He turns like I've never seen anybody turn before in a football, to be honest with you. Certainly with all the pressure around him in midfield. Like, I don't understand how opposition players aren't becoming wise to the fact you think you've got a chance of going to get the ball, and he's just going to do you time and time again. Like, there's receiving the ball under pressure, and then there's the ability to do it in tight areas, and then there's what Ryan Gravenberch is doing. Like, it's next level. So more opposition players need to wise up to the fact that he's just going to leave you for dead over and over again. But I hope they don't, because I love watching it. But you're right, yeah, he's just sensational, absolutely sensational. Last couple from YouTube now, before I quickly dive into the Twitter, before leaving you all for the next show. Can we record Mamdashvili from loan? He's actually not on loan. I don't think. There was definitely, I can't remember exactly how that transfer worked out now, so forgive me. He couldn't have got loaned to Bournemouth, I know that much, but I feel like we've signed him for next year. I'm not sure he ever became our player and then got loaned to Valencia. But anyway, it's not going to be happening. So, yeah, this, I think, to be honest with you. Sound. Okay, I'll just dive into the Twitter, see what's going on in there. Sorav says we need to be much better in the final third. Yeah, agree with that. Those extra passes instead of trying to go for goals have been crazy. 70% possession, but hardly any shots on target. Defensively solid, absolute monsters. I agree with all of that. I'm not sold on the last point. I think individually, in moments, defensively solid. I think Virgil van Dijk and Canate fall into that category, as does Tsimikas as well, to be fair. And the keeper, definitely. But I think a lot of the problems at the back were caused by us, and sort of we brought pressure upon ourselves sometimes by being a bit sloppy, a bit wasteful back there and stuff like that. So anyway, Paul says, up the top of the league, Reds, here's hoping Ali's back soon, and Mac is all right. Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Phil Kennedy, good first half, but not great in the second. Apart from his goal, I thought Jota was poor. Big test coming up, hoping we come through it. If we beat Chelsea and Arsenal, I'll start to believe. There we go. James Cave says, I don't care that we won. We need to be making statements against teams in the bottom half of the table. Instead, we're seeing out games from the moment we scored the first goal. The possession-based game that Slotters needs to add to the part where we score for fun. Okay, wants us to be more ruthless. I can see that. Dean Foley says, international break couldn't have been timed better given Alisson's injury. Hope to God it's not serious, but it's not good. Considering everything worked against us here, that's a good point. I think a lot of the rub of the green, if you like, wasn't in our favour, certainly from the referee's perspective. But yeah, that conspired to be a really, really difficult test for us, and we've overcome it. And I think that should be sort of the top and bottom line, to be fair, and what we all hold dear to our heart as we move on with the rest of our weekend. And on that note, I think it's time for me to go over and do a player ranking show, because it's already nearly 3:00. And there's football about to start, and I've got like 16 players, 15 players to go and put in a category from boss sound to your messing, and I need your help to do it. So if you could all come with me over to the board, that'd be massively appreciated. We've got all the footballers, we've got Arne Slot, and we've got a man the match to pick as well. So I need your help. I can't do it all on my own. So I will see you in literally like a minute and a half. Bye for now.